Although the progress was very smooth, Yun Chujio was a little anxious. Damn it, the weapon spirit said that he wanted the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle to give the small eagle to her willingly. How could he do that? Yun Chujio pondered for a while. Unless the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle was about to die, it might be possible to give the small eagle to her on its deathbed. Other than that, there seemed to be no other possibility. However, the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle did not seem to be short-lived. What should she do? It was not that this black-hearted person did not think of doing something to kill the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle. However, even if she killed the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle, it would not willingly give the small eagle to her. Therefore, the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle was considered to have saved its life. Small eagle grew very fast. In just a few days, it could walk. It was a black-hearted person with a wicked heart. Although he had learned to walk, he did not show it. On this day, the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle went out to hunt. Yun Chujio was sitting there basking in the sun. Small eagle suddenly pecked at Yun Chujio. Fortunately, Yun Chujio did not really have no spiritual power. Otherwise, she would have been pecked to death by small eagle. Yun Chujio directly jumped onto small eagle's back and poked it with a needle. You black-hearted guy, how dare you play this trick with me? I poke, I poke, I poke, I poke, I poke. The small eagle screamed in pain as it struggled. However, it was too weak and had no way to get rid of Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio had not thought of a way to get the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle to give the small eagle to her. Now that she was ambushed by the small eagle, she gritted her teeth. Damn it, it seemed like she had to use some extreme methods. Yun Chujio took out a pill from her storage ring and forcefully fed it to the small eagle. Then, she said sinisterly, "Little thing, what I fed you is a good thing. If you don't have my antidote, you will die. And your mother will not suspect me at all. So, you tell your mother that you had a dream. Unless your mother gives you to me, you will die." The small eagle was so angry that it was trembling. However, it could not defeat Yun Chujio. It made up its mind that when the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle returned, it would report this sinister human to death. When the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle returned, the small eagle immediately complained angrily, "Mother, that little girl fed the baby poison. She threatened me that if I didn't let you give the baby to her, she would poison the baby to death." The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle was skeptical. Before it could react, it heard Yun Chujio clapping her hands and said, "Master Eagle, look. Small eagle can walk. This trick of mine worked. I used a mud ball to trick it into saying that it was poison, but it actually walked when it got excited. The bloodline of the golden-winged great ROC is indeed extraordinary." The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle then realized that the small eagle could really walk. Immediately, it began to chirp happily. Small eagle said angrily, "Mother, I have always been able to walk. Don't listen to her nonsense. She just doesn't have good intentions. She wants to poison me to death." The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle's wing landed on small eagle's body. "She's doing this for your own good. If it wasn't for her infuriating you, would you be able to learn how to walk so quickly? How would a person without spiritual power like her dare to hurt you? If you lie again, don't eat dinner." Small eagle was hopping mad, but golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle was very happy. Its child was indeed the bloodline of golden-winged great rocks. It was only a few days old, and it was already jumping. Its future was limitless. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. In the afternoon, the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle went out to hunt again. Yun Chujio was holding a needle in her hand. She said with a sinister smile, "Little thing, do you know how to describe your current state? It's all about you. Ha ha ha." Small eagle was so angry that all its fur stood up. It really didn't understand why its mother didn't believe it and instead trusted this sinister human. Little thing, are you very confused? Why did your mother choose to believe me and not you? It's very simple, because I can tell at a glance that you are a good person, and you can tell at a glance that you are not a good person. Ha ha ha. The black-hearted Yun Chujio felt that it was too fun to make Small Eagle jump around in anger. Small Eagle was indeed jumping around in anger, but it did not dare to move forward anymore. It knew that it could not beat Yun Chujio. Little thing, I was lying to your mother. I fed you poison. Don't you feel a slight pain in your stomach? To tell you the truth, my poison is slow-acting. It only hurts a little at the beginning, and then it will become more painful. In the end, your intestines will rot, but it cannot be seen from the outside. Yun Chujio smiled like a little devil again. Hearing Yun Chujio's words, Small Eagle indeed felt a faint pain in its stomach. When it thought of how Yun Chujio said that its intestines would rot in the end, it immediately cried out in fear. Little thing, the only one who can save you now is me. If you don't believe me, you can tell your mother. Your mother will definitely think that you are lying. If you don't believe me, you can try. Yun Chujio hugged her shoulders, she shook her calves and said proudly. Small Eagle felt that it was most likely the most unlucky Small Eagle. Why did the baby meet such a bastard? Why did the baby's mother not believe the baby? Woo, the baby was going to be poisoned to death. When the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle returned, Small Eagle threw itself into its arms and cried, Mother, mother, that insidious human fed the baby poison. The baby's stomach hurts. In the end, the baby's intestines will rot. The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle examined the Small Eagle. Although demonic beasts did not have the medical skills of humans, it was still possible to tell if they were poisoned. This was because after being poisoned, their eyes, tongue, and skin would change color. After the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle finished its examination, a wing landed on the Small Eagle's body again. You useless thing. Your father died early. Is it easy for mother to raise you? You are actually so unambitious. You actually slandered your husband because you don't want to learn anything. This is really infuriating. Small Eagle saw that the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle was so angry and didn't dare to say anything more. However, it felt that its stomach hurt even more. It felt that the entire eagle's life was hopeless. The next day, when the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle went out to hunt again, Sinister Little 9 came online again. Little thing, did you see that? Your mother wouldn't believe you. Actually, it's not that your mother doesn't love you, nor is it that you're too stupid. It's mainly because I'm too smart. Too sinister. Ha ha ha. This fellow was probably the only one who would use sinister as a compliment. Small Eagle drooped its head and did not say a word. It knew that it was not Yun Chujio's match at all. Little thing, if you don't want to rot your intestines, then follow what I've taught you. Otherwise, when the time comes, you'll be miserable. Small Eagle was just a newborn baby bird. Immediately, its psychological defense broke down. It kept wailing. It was really sad to hear it, but it would cry. Yun Chujio took out a spirit fruit from her storage ring and stuffed it into the Small Eagle's mouth. The Small Eagle was instantly mesmerized by the sweet taste. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Although the golden-winged vermilion-beak eagle usually picked some fruits, they were all ordinary wild fruits. How could they be as delicious as this spirit fruit? Small Eagle immediately felt that this spirit fruit was the most delicious thing in the world. Little thing, as long as you follow what I taught you, not only will you not have to rot your intestines, but there will also be delicious fruits. Think about what you want to do. Small Eagle hesitated and struggled for a while. In the end, its survival instinct took the upper hand and it cowered. Yun Chujio could not help but twitch her lips. She remembered to eat but not to hit. It was really easy to trick her. There was simply no sense of accomplishment. The next morning, Small Eagle trembled and said to the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle, "Mother, mother, save me. I had a dream last night. An old immortal told me that unless you give me to that human, I will die." "What nonsense are you talking about?" The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle felt that Small Eagle was playing tricks again. It had never heard of other people's babies being so evil. "Could it be that my child has the bloodline of the golden-winged great rock?" "Mother, what the baby said is true. The old immortal said that because I have the bloodline of the golden-winged great ROC, there will be many disasters in the future. Only by recognizing this human as the master can we eliminate the disasters. This is because this human is too useless. It can balance my bloodline." Small Eagle told it what Yun Chujio told it. The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle did not believe it at all. "Okay, how can you take what happened in the dream seriously? Stay at home. I will try to get you a deer today." After the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle flew away, Small Eagle squeaked a few times. Although Yun Chujio did not understand it, however, she guessed correctly. "Does your mother not believe you? This is very easy to handle. From today onwards, you will start to pretend to be sick. If you have nothing to do, you will say some nonsense and your mother will believe you." This time, Yun Chujio did not poke the Small Eagle with a needle. Instead, she took out some roasted meat and fed it to the Small Eagle. The Small Eagle was so touched that it almost cried. Oh my God, the little devil had finally found his conscience. In the next few days, the Small Eagle followed Yun Chujio's instructions and shouted, "Ah, mother, my head hurts. There's a monster trying to kill me. Mother, I'm dying. There's a monster trying to eat me. I can't live anymore. Mother, you have to take care." At the same time, the Small Eagle would tremble and roll its eyes. This scared the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle. Could it be that what its child said was true? That's right. Its child usually hated that little girl the most. If it wasn't really dreaming, why would it say that it recognized that little girl as its master? However, its child, the magnificent golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle, recognized a little girl without spiritual power as its master. This was really too cowardly. Just as the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle was hesitating, the Small Eagle began to tremble again. "Mother, my stomach hurts so much. Mother, quickly save me." The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle gritted its teeth and said to the Small Eagle, "All right. Since that's the case, just acknowledge that little girl as your master. At most, you can raise her in this nest from now on." The Small Eagle immediately stopped trembling and called out to Yun Chujio a few times, showing off that it had succeeded. Yun Chujio could not help but twitch the corner of her eyes. This silly child really had the ability to trick her mother. The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle chirped a few times at Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio pretended to be puzzled. "Lord Eagle, what do you mean by this?" The golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle had no choice but to push the Small Eagle in front of Yun Chujio and chirp a few more times. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes in confusion and asked in surprise, "Sir Eagle, are you going to give the Small Eagle to me?" Small Eagle, who was at the side, saw Yun Chujio acting dumb and was so angry that he rolled his eyes. However, the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle misunderstood and thought that Small Eagle was sick again. He nodded to Yun Chujio anxiously and then chirped. Yun Chujio finally looked like she had a sudden realization. She slapped her thigh and said, "No wonder I have been dreaming for the past few days. I dreamed that an old immortal asked me to take in the Small Eagle. The old immortal even asked me to take good care of the Small Eagle." When the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle heard Yun Chujio's words, it believed that there was a dream. It used its wings to push the Small Eagle toward Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio was about to take the opportunity to form a contract with the Small Eagle when a white light flashed before her eyes. The scene in front of her changed. At this moment, it had been half a month since Yun Chujio entered the prodigy role. At first, there were still many people who came to watch. Later, only Feng Ming and Jin Ji came to check on her when they had the time. At first, Jin Ji was very worried about Yun Chujia's safety. However, after being brainwashed by Feng Ming and the other two, she became numb to it. They were right. Little Jiu, that monster, would be fine. Everything in the Tianyuan Institute was as usual. There was no difference because of the lack of a bad news bag. On this morning, Dean Huangfu was in the study dealing with some matters. The door of the study was knocked open. Dean Huangfu was shocked. He looked up and saw that it was the dried-up old man who had barged in. However, the dried-up old man's expression was very grave, he was also very anxious. Old man Jiang. Old man Jiang, is there something wrong? Dean Huangfu stood up. He knew that old man Jiang was not someone who would act rashly. Something must have happened. My enemy has been found. I must leave this place immediately to avoid implicating you. When little Nine comes out, you must keep your mouth shut. Just say that I went wandering and don't let her find me. She isn't a match for those people yet. The dry old man hurriedly said a few words, then turned around and rushed out. In a few leaps, he disappeared without a trace. Before Dean Huangfu could react, he heard the sound of a fight coming from afar. His heart tightened, and he hurriedly rushed over to where the fight had happened. When Dean Huangfu rushed over, he discovered that the dried-up old man was fighting with a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was dressed in a black robe. The cuffs and edges of the black robe were embroidered with golden threads. Dean Huangfu's heart tightened. Those golden threads were spat out by a type of 9 mysterious heavenly silkworm, and they were very rare. Where did this person come from? What made Dean Huangfu even more alarmed was that he could not see through the cultivation level of the black-clothed man at all. Moreover, it seemed that he was only higher than the dried-up old man and not lower than him. Most importantly, there were still 20 people standing not far away. If Dean Huangfu could not see through their cultivation level, it meant that the cultivation level of these 5 people was above Dean Huangfu's. Dean Huangfu naturally would not just stand there and watch. He shouted sternly, "Stop! Who are you people? How dare you make a move in the Tianyuan Academy?" Before Dean Huangfu could finish his words, a person standing behind him moved and struck out a palm towards Dean Huangfu. Dean Huangfu hurriedly dodged. Although Dean Huangfu dodged this move, his heart was shaken. This person's spirit energy was too profound. He probably could not even take 10 moves. When did so many mighty figures appear in the Tianyuan continent? When the old man saw that the man had attacked Dean Huangfu, he faked a move and jumped to the side. He said to the middle-aged man, "Fan Zhen, this is a grudge between us and it has nothing to do with anyone else. Tell your men to stop." The middle-aged man smiled coldly. "Jiang Yizhou, I didn't think that you were really still alive. I thought that you were already dead. However, it seems that your life isn't that great after all. We are of the same age, yet you have grown so old. TSK, what a joke. Fan Zhen, cut the crap. You are just looking for me to seek revenge. Let's go somewhere else and fight to the death." The reason why the old man said that was to lure these people away so that they would not implicate the people from the Tianyuan Academy. At that moment, many people from the Tianyuan Academy had gathered around and they were all glaring angrily at Fan Zhen and the others. Unexpectedly, the middle-aged man snorted coldly and said, "Since these people are hiding you, then these people must die." The old man's eyes were bloodshot as he said, "Fan Zhen, you are going against the law. Aren't you afraid of being punished by the heavens?" The middle-aged man was Fan Zhen and he curled his lips. "You have reminded me that these people are just ants. It's not worth it to kill them and get struck by lightning. However, it's not bad to cripple their dantian and chop off their limbs." The old man clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. As long as you don't hurt them, they'll be at your disposal. Humph. Jiang Yizhou, do you think you're still the original Jiang family head? What right do you have to bargain with me? If they want to blame you, then blame it on your relationship with them. It's their bad luck. Fan Zhen waved his hand, he signaled for the people behind him to make a move. Fan Zhen, you are really going too far. If you continue to force me, I will self-destruct my dantian. We will fight to the death. The veins on the dry old man's forehead were popping out. This was the situation he had been most worried about. He had not expected it to happen. When Fan Zhen heard that the dry old man was going to self-destruct his dantian, he was indeed a little apprehensive. His eyes flickered. All right, anyway, these people have nothing to do with us. You just have to commit suicide right now and I will spare these people. Din Huangfu saw that the old man was really going to self-destruct his dantian and hurriedly stopped him. Old man Jiang. Absolutely not. Perhaps there is still a way out of this. The old man laughed bitterly. I cannot implicate all of you just because of me. I have lived for so many years and it is already enough. Although Jin Ji did not know the old man, she had once heard Yun Chujio bragging that she had a master who was a dry old man, so she shouted, Elder Jiang. Even if you die, they might not really spare us. How can we not defeat these people? At most, well, just fight it out. When the dry old man heard Jin Ji's words, he could not help but be stunned. This reminded him, so he said, Fan Zhen, to prevent you from not keeping your word, swear on your inner demon. Fan Zhen laughed coldly. Jiang Yizhou, Jiang Yizhou, you are still as stupid as before. Do you think I will let these people go? Brothers, let's play with these ants. Leave the little girl who spoke just now for me, the rest is up to you. When the old man saw this, he was about to self-destruct. He did not expect that the black-robed men would suddenly move and grab a student in each of their hands. Fan Zhen laughed sinisterly and said, Jiang Yizhou, if you self-destruct, we might not be killed by the explosion. But these people will be killed by you. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. While the old man was still in a daze, Fan Zhen threw a palm strike at him. The old man had no choice but to fight with him once again. After the other black-robed men had severely injured the students in their hands, they charged towards Din Huangfu and the others. Although Din Huangfu and the others could be considered among the top experts in the Tianyuan continent, they were completely unable to defend themselves in front of these people. Those students could not even withstand a single blow, and those black-robed men were like wolves entering a flock of sheep. Those people were afraid that after killing someone, they would be punished by the heavens, so they either slapped the person's dantian open, or directly broke the person's limbs, and even tore some of the female students' clothes. In an instant, miserable howls filled the ground, and the Tianyuan Academy instantly turned into hell on earth. The dry old man was filled with regret, hatred, anxiety, and anger. However, he was trapped by Fan Zhen, and had no way to rescue him. He knew that even if he were to commit suicide now, Fan Zhen and the others would not let the people from the Tianyuan Academy off. These people were simply animals. In less than an hour, other than a small number of people who managed to escape, the rest of the people did not have the ability to resist. Fan Zhen also did not have the mood to deal with the old man. With a wave of his hand, a few men dressed in black swarmed over. The old man was caught off guard and one of them slapped his chest, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. Fan Zhen laughed sinisterly. Jiang Yizhou, you didn't think that you would still have this day, did you? TSK, the Jiang family's head is now even worse than a dog. How wonderful. The old man spat out a mouthful of blood and roared in grief and indignation, Fan Zhen. There's nothing to say that my skills are inferior to humans, but these people are all innocent. Let them go, or else I won't spare you even if I become a ghost. Fan Zhen curled his lips and laughed sinisterly. Don't worry, I am afraid of the heavenly punishment, I will not kill them. I will just let them have something missing from their bodies. As for those beautiful chicks, I will still dote on them. The people of the Tian Yuan Academy could not help but feel despair. These people's methods were extremely cruel, to fall into their hands was simply a fate worse than death. Fan Zhen. You will die a horrible death. All of you will die a horrible death. The dry old man was so angry that he started cursing. Cut off his tongue. I want to see how he will continue to spout nonsense. Fan Zhen snorted coldly and said to a black-robed man. The black-robed man was holding his sword and was about to cut off the dry old man's tongue when he heard someone say clearly, "Where did this wild dog come from? It's fine if he barks in the wild, but if he barks in our Tian Yuan Academy, does he not want to live anymore?" The people of Tian Yuan Academy were all familiar with this voice. It was Yun Chujiu. It was Yun Chujiu who had come. Did she come out of the Prodigy Palace? The old man, Dean Huangfu, and the others were burning with anxiety. Silly girl, since you had escaped a disaster, why did you show yourself? Sneaking out could still save your life, but if you came now, wouldn't you be walking into a trap? These people were not like the people from the Netherworld Palace. Their spiritual power was almost at the peak of the 9th level of the spiritual venerable realm. How could a little girl like you be able to deal with them? Fan Zhen heard the shouting and looked up. He saw a large chopping board flying over. On top of it stood a beautiful young girl. Kiki, this little girl is quite good-looking. Since she took the initiative to deliver herself to us, how can we waste her? Little girl, be obedient and I will let you suffer less. Fan Zhen said with a lewd smile. Fuck your Luo Quan. A beast like you, even a so won't take a fancy to you. Yun Chujiu stood on the chopping board and cursed with her hands on her hips. Yun Chujiu smelled the strong smell of blood the moment she stepped out of the Prodigy Palace. She knew that something big had happened. She could have just left. However, although this fellow had a black heart, he valued his feelings the most. After sending a letter to Enfong, he immediately flew over. Fan Zhen said coldly, "This stinky girl is really stubborn. Fan Jia, go up and get this stinky girl down." Hearing Fan Zhen's orders, a black-robed man rode his sword and charged towards Yun Chujiu who was in the air, and attacked Yun Chujiu with his spirit energy. Fuck. You're really going to fight? I can't beat you, let's meet again. After Yun Chujiu said that, she commanded the chopping board to fly away. That black-robed man Fan Jia was stunned. Fan Zhen was stunned. The people from the Tian Yuan Academy were all stunned. What the hell? Weren't you just indignant and righteous just a moment ago? Why did you suddenly change your style and run away in such a short time? Could it be that her eyesight wasn't very good, and she didn't notice that these black-clothed men's spiritual power was superb at the beginning, but now that she noticed it, she ran away? Fan Jia thought the same. He curled his lips contemptuously and rode his sword to chase after her. Unexpectedly, although that little girl was at the 2nd level of the spiritual paragon realm, her speed of escape was extremely fast. Fan Jia chased after her for a long time but still could not catch up. It just so happened that the little girl was circling in the sky above the Tian Yuan Academy. As she escaped, she said, "Io, everyone look quickly. I am walking my dog. This dog is so obedient. It has been chasing after its master all this while." Fan Jia was so angry that he almost fell off his sword. He shouted at the men in black below, "Fan Yi, Fan Bing, help me stop this little girl." The 3 men in black started to surround and intercept Yun Chujiu. Yun Chujiu had just begun to command the chopping board to fly up and down when she suddenly stopped running. She sighed, "Forget it. I can't run anyway. Come and catch me." Fan Jia and the other 2 men snorted coldly and surrounded her, trying to force Yun Chujiu to land. Unexpectedly, just as the 3 men approached Yun Chujiu, Yun Chujia's chopping board suddenly jumped up, then, stack after stack of superior-grade burst talismans were thrown at them. Fan Jia and the other two men's spiritual power was much higher than Yun Chujia's. Although they were not on guard, they could still dodge these talismans if they tried their best. However, they felt that since it was a pile of talismans, it must be some worthless explosive talismans. Their high spiritual power explosive talismans did not pose any threat to them, so they did not try their best to dodge, they only managed to dodge a part of it. Loud explosive sounds were heard one after another, accompanied by the miserable screams of Fan Jia and the other two. Yun Chujio was not idle at this time, she continued to throw talismans at the three of them. Damn it! I'll blow you all to death. I'll make you bully my master. I'll make you bully the headmaster. I'll make you bully Feng Ming and the others. I'll make you bully the beauty Jin Ji. Although Fan Jia and the other two were powerful, they were still flesh and blood after all. How could they withstand the bombardment of so many superior-grade burst talismans? They were blown to bits. No one had expected such a situation. Compared to the people from the Tian Yuan Academy, Fan Zhen and the others were even more shocked. What kind of talisman was that little lass using? Was it a sudden rupture talisman? How could she have so many sudden rupture talismans? Could it be that her family was selling talismans? Without waiting for Fan Zhen to give the order, another three people rode on their swords and charged towards Yun Chujio. Damned lass, you're courting death. I'm always looking for things, but I don't know how to seek death. I see that you're all here to seek death. Did you all think that those three people would be lonely and cold when they went underground, so you wanted to accompany them? Although Yun Chujio was very worried in her heart. However, this guy was used to being pretentious, but his face didn't show it at all. Brothers, don't talk nonsense with her. Let's kill her first. One of them said as he attacked Yun Chujio with his spiritual power. The other two also attacked. Yun Chujio quickly commanded the chopping board to fly up and down to dodge. Fortunately, the space in the sky was big enough. Otherwise, Yun Chujio would definitely be hit. However, even so, Yun Chujio could not hold on any longer. The three men in black formed a triangle. It was difficult for Yun Chujio to escape. She tried the same trick again, wanting to use the superior-grade burst talisman to attack the three men again. However, the three men did not fall for the trick after learning from the previous experience. The three men only used their spiritual power to attack and did not approach Yun Chujio at all. They did not give Yun Chujio the chance to use the talisman at all. Yun Chujio was burning with anxiety. It was not a good idea to continue like this. What should she do? Yun Chujio was a little distracted, so she dodged a little slower. One of the people attacked her with his spiritual power. Fortunately, Yun Chujio had a lot of defensive spiritual weapons on her. Dozens of them were broken, and she finally blocked the attack. This guy was in great pain. Damn it, I spent a lot of effort to get this. I'm not done with you. However, this fellow also thought of a way to fly into the fire. Fuck. Anyway, these were all extorted. Let's just waste them and kill one after another. Thinking of this, Yun Chujio rushed towards one of the people. That person was stunned. Has this little girl gone mad? She came to seek her own death. That person attacked Yun Chujio with a spiritual energy attack. Yun Chujio did not dodge at all and took the spiritual energy attack head-on. The supreme grade sudden rupture talisman in her hand also smashed towards that person. The other two saw the situation and rushed over to pincer attack. Yun Chujio didn't dodge and threw another stack of supreme grade burst talismans at that person just now. That person let out a miserable cry and even his flying sword was blasted into pieces. Of course, Yun Chujio also suffered heavy losses. The defensive spirit tools on her body were shattered into several hundred pieces in an instant. Yun Chujia's pained eyebrows stood up. She turned around and rushed towards the other two people. Bastard! Compensate my spirit tools. I'll blow you all to death. Although Dean Huangfu and the others were feeling heavy-hearted at this moment, the corners of their eyes twitched when they heard Yun Chujia's words. Little Joe, are you focusing on the wrong thing? At this time, you're still a money grubber. The two men in black in the air were also a little confused when they heard Yun Chujia's lines. However, they knew Yun Chujia's path, so they did not dare to be careless. They attacked Yun Chujio while dodging, not giving Yun Chujio the chance to use the talisman. As they fought, they heard Yun Chujio curse, "Damn it! Why are there only 2 sudden rupture talismans left?" The two men in black were delighted. Although the sudden rupture talismans were powerful, they would only cause a slight injury to them at most. The two men looked at each other and rushed towards Yun Chujio at the same time. Yun Chujia's eyes deepened. Good timing, they really came croaking. When the two of them were less than 10 feet away from Yun Chujio, Yun Chujia's chopping board suddenly jumped up and threw the superior grade burst talisman at the two of them. The two men in black thought that it was just a burst talisman, so they did not care. They did not dodge at all, so they were in a tragic situation. How was it 2 pieces? There were more than 200 pieces. After a few explosions, the two men in black were also blasted into pieces. Fan Zhen originally did not take Yun Chujio seriously, but in less than an hour, he actually lost 6 of his men. It was really a great humiliation. Damn girl! I didn't expect you to be so sneaky. Come down quickly and face your death, or I will kill these people. Fan Zhen said coldly. If you want to go down, then go down. I wanted to go down and kill you too. Make way for me and give me a place to land. I don't want to smash you to death. Yun Chujio said with a smile. I don't need you to save me. Get lost. The dry old man roared angrily. He knew that Yun Chujio was simply throwing her life away. Not only did Fan Zhen and the others have superb spiritual powers, they also had hostages in their hands. Yun Chujio had no chance of winning. Fan Zhen curled his lips. These so-called righteous gentlemen always liked this trick. That little girl would definitely cry and wail and refuse to leave. Otherwise, wouldn't she be leaving them to die? Unexpectedly, Yun Chujio touched her chin and said, Old man, what you said makes sense. You guys are not related to me. I don't need to put myself in danger just to save you guys. Since that's the case, I'm leaving. You guys can do whatever you want. After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she indeed commanded the chopping board to fly away. Not long after, there was only a black dot left. Fan Zhen. The man in black. Everyone. For a moment, there was a strange silence. Everyone was shocked by Yun Chujio's unconventional behavior. Are you out of your mind? Since you don't want to meddle in other people's business, why didn't you leave just now? Why did you leave now? Could it be that after killing 6 people, you felt good and left? Family head, should we chase after her? A man in black asked Fan Zhen. Fan Zhen was also a little hesitant. He decided not to chase after her. Yun Chujio had killed 6 of their men. He could not let her off so easily. However, he decided to chase after her. That wretched girl was full of tricks. She might even come up with some tricks. Her chopping board was much more flexible than these people's swords. Moreover, he did not know how many sudden rupture talismans she had in her hands. Fan Zhen was filled with regret. He should have used these people to blackmail that wretched girl from the very beginning. He should not have let people go to the heavens to capture her. However, that wretched girl seemed to value money more than these people. Even if you were to blackmail her, she probably would not give in, right? Fan Zhen gritted his teeth. No matter what, the purpose of this trip was to kill Jiang Yizhou. He had to kill him first. As for that wretched girl, he would deal with her when he had the chance in the future. Just as Fan Zhen was about to kill the old man, he saw Yun Chuzhou flying back. "Hey! How about we discuss a business deal?" Fan Zhen felt a slight pain in his temples. This wretched lass was most likely out of her mind. Discuss a business deal? Are you crazy? Why would I discuss a business deal with you? Let me tell you the truth. I have long disliked these people from the Tianyuan Academy. Damn it, a genius like me is actually being ostracized by them. Do you know why I wasn't here just now? Because I violated the school rules and was locked up by them. If it wasn't for you guys coming over, I would still be locked up. These people deserve to die. What you did was simply satisfying. Yun Chuzhou stood on the chopping board, she clapped her hands and said. Fan Zhen would never have dreamed that Yun Chuzhou would actually say such a thing. He did not know how to react for a moment. Fan Zhen was still in a daze when he heard Yun Chuzhou say, "If you ask me, you're really too kind. Why are they all still alive? You should kill them one by one. Bleed them one by one. These people all deserve to die. How about this, you kill one person, I'll pay you a high-grade spirit stone, as if I hired you to avenge me." Feng Ming and the other two had followed Yun Chuzhou for a long time. They immediately understood Yun Chuzhou's intention and knew that she was stalling for time. Feng Ming immediately cooperated and scolded, "Qian duo. You're really ruthless. Didn't I just reject you? No one would like a ruthless woman like you. You're shameless. It's your fortune that I like you. If it wasn't for your delicate skin and flesh, would have castrated you long ago." Pooey. Yun Chuzhou almost laughed out loud. Senior Brother Bird actually knew how to use a fake name. You fickle bitch. All the slightly better-looking men in the academy have been ruined by you. I won't give in even if I die. Feng Ming roared in grief and indignation. Shi Xian, who was at the side, also understood and cursed at Yun Chuzhou. That's right. A man can be killed but not humiliated. Even if you get our bodies, you can forget about getting our souls. Dean Huangfu, the veteran actor, also began to add drama. Sigh. Qian duo, Qian duo. Originally, I thought that you were still young, and although it was immoral, there was still a chance to save you. I didn't expect that you would be so vicious. Now, you actually want to ally with outsiders to kill us. You're really the scum of our Tianyuan Academy. In order to survive, the students of Tianyuan Academy also started to put on their acting skills. Qian duo. You've already possessed me, why aren't you satisfied? 100 days of marriage in one night, you're actually so vicious. Qian duo. Have you forgotten the sweet words you said to me back then? I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. Qian duo, you clearly said that although I am your 36th man, I will be your last man. So it turns out that you have been lying to me all along, you heartless woman. Fan Zhen and the men in black had obviously never encountered such a thing before. For a moment, they could not make heads or tails of it and could not help but start making connections. Qian duo seemed to be a womanizer. She was usually a womanizer. Although many people had submitted to her, there were still some who would rather die than submit. Was she then locked up by the headmaster? Yun Chuzhou tried hard to hold back her laughter and thought to herself, life is like a play. It all depends on acting. Yun Chuzhou estimated the time. Feng and the others should be arriving soon. However, there were still 15 men in black. Even if Feng and the others arrived, they would still not be able to defeat them. Moreover, they still had hostages in their hands. What should they do? Yun Chuzhou stood on the chopping board and looked around. When she saw the trial tower, she had an idea. I remembered something important. Let's talk about this deal later. I have to go collect the divine weapon first. After Yun Chuzhou said that, she flew away on the chopping board. When Fan Zhen heard about the divine weapon, he immediately revealed a greedy look. Although he felt that something was amiss, he still had the upper hand. Leave 7 people to guard these people. The rest of you, follow me. After Fan Zhen said that, he brought 7 people on his sword and chased after Yun Chuzhou. Yun Chuzhou turned around and looked. She sneered in her heart. He was really greedy. He actually brought half of his people over. Yun Chuzhou quickly landed in front of the trial tower. She placed her identity jade token in the groove of the trial tower and did not rush in. She deliberately waited until Fan Zhen and the rest were about to land before she walked in. Fan Zhen waved his hand and the 7 men quickly followed Yun Chuzhou in. Fan Zhen stood guard outside and he felt that there was no risk. After Yun Chuzhou entered the trial tower, she was directly teleported to a grassland. In front of her, there was a huge bloodthirsty wolf staring at her. However, when it saw Yun Chuzhou's spiritual power level, it immediately cowered. Yun Chuzhou did not have the time to pay attention to it. Instead, she shouted to the sky, "Xiao Hei, frog. The 7 people who entered just now definitely can't get out without a jade token. Think of a way to trap them and don't let them break through to the 9th level. When I become powerful in the future, you can release them again. I will bleed them one by one." The weapon spirit of the trial tower wanted to cry but had no tears. It was fine if you gave your baby the nickname of Xiao Hei Frog, but why did Baby Mao need to block the heavenly thunder for you? Why did Baby Mao need to help you trap people? Baby's heart was bitter. Baby did not say anything. Blue thin mushroom. After Yun Chuzhou shouted, she thought about the next countermeasure in her heart. Only then did she take out a jade token. In order to avoid the heavenly thunder, this fellow had prepared quite a few jade tokens in his storage ring. Yun Chuzhou activated the jade token and was ejected from the trial tower. Fan Zhen was waiting outside the trial tower. He did not expect Yun Chuzhou to be ejected so quickly. He was a little confused. He was not confused at all. Yun Chuzhou threw several stacks of superior-grade burst talismans at Fan Zhen. Yun Chuzhou knew very well that the gap between her and Fan Zhen's spiritual power was too big. She could only have a slim chance of winning if she was caught off guard. Fan Zhen was much smarter than his men. He activated the defensive spiritual weapon on his body while dodging quickly. Moreover, he was on the ground and could move freely. Therefore, even though Yun Chuzhou threw a lot of burst talismans, Fan Zhen was only slightly injured. Stupid girl. Where are my men? They are helping you find the divine weapon. As long as you get to the 9th level, you will be able to find the divine weapon. Why don't you go in and look for it too? Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. Fan Zhen snorted coldly, "Stupid girl. You must be playing some tricks again. I will catch you right now and see if you are still stubborn." Fan Zhen said as he released a huge python of spirit power towards Yun Chuzhou. Not only was this huge python of spirit power huge, but it was also quite intelligent. It opened its bloody mouth towards Yun Chuzhou. Yun Chuzhou was shocked. This huge python of spirit power was on par with the pretty boy's ice dragon. It was not easy to deal with. Yun Chuzhou quickly released several spirit power piglets to intercept the spirit power python. When the spirit power python saw that Yun Chuzhou released a group of cute piglets, it could not help but show a contemptuous look. Fan Zhen, who was standing at the side, could not help but sneer. He did not expect this little girl's spirit power beast to be so weak. However, why did she release so many spirit power beasts? This did not make sense. Although a few of the spirit power piglets had been bitten off by the spirit power python, there were still a few that started to chomp on the spirit power python's body. Fan Zhen was shocked. These spirit power piglets were actually able to devour the spirit power of other spirit power beasts. How was this possible? However, Fan Zhen quickly calmed down because he discovered that although Yun Chujia's spirit power piglets were very abnormal, Yun Chujia's spirit power level was too low, so the spirit power piglets were quickly scattered by the python, and although the spiritual power giant python's figure had become a little lighter, it still charged towards Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio gritted her teeth. It seemed that she could only use her trump card. Yun Chujio released 5 iron puppets. Number 1, Number 2, block the giant python. Number 3, Number 4, Number 5, kill this bastard for me. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. When Fan Zhen saw the 5 refined iron puppets that Yun Chujio had released, he did not think much of it. The refined iron puppets were only used for defense. They were not as powerful as the sudden rupture talisman, so there was nothing to be afraid of. However, he soon realized that he had made a huge mistake. Not only could these refined iron puppets attack, but they were also very methodical in fighting. How was this possible? How could such a low-level continent like the Tianyuan continent have such a high-level puppet? This little girl was not even 20 years old. Not only did she have a large number of sudden rupture talismans, but she also had such a perverse puppet. Where did she come from? Fan Zhen was caught off guard by the puppets. However, his spiritual power was superb after all. After the initial shock, he found the trick to deal with the refined iron puppets, which was to attack the abdomen of the refined iron puppets. That was because that was where the puppet disc was located. After a quarter of an hour, Yun Chujio and the 5 puppets could not hold on any longer. The puppet discs of the 5 puppets were damaged to varying degrees, and their movements became sluggish. Although Yun Chujio was not injured for the time being by relying on the countless superior-grade burst talismans and defensive spirit tools on her body, there were not many defensive spirit tools left on her body. Although Fan Zhen had gained the upper hand, he was so angry that he gritted his teeth. How could this wretched girl have so many burst talismans and defensive spirit tools on her? Could it be that she was the daughter of some big family in the Tianyuan continent, and she brought all the good things from her family with her? In fact, Yun Chujio could once again enter the trial tower to hide. However, she estimated that Feng and the others had already arrived, so it would be best if she could stall Fan Zhen. Another quarter of an hour later, the 5 puppets collapsed on the ground. Yun Chujia's defensive spirit tool had all been shattered, and she could only rely on her superior-grade sudden rupture talisman to barely hold on. Yun Chujio could not help but smile bitterly in her heart. In the face of absolute strength, schemes, tricks, and talisman puppets were all useless. If it really did not work, she could only fly into the air. At the very least, she would have more space to use it. Yun Chujia's thoughts were pretty good. But just as she summoned the chopping board, Fan Zhen's spirit energy python arrived. It did not give Yun Chujio the chance to jump onto the chopping board at all. Although Yun Chujio still had the little black bird's curse, it was a last resort to save her life. She could not use it lightly, so Yun Chujio could only fight with Fan Zhen again. Yun Chujio was unable to dodge in time. Her left shoulder was swept by Fan Zhen's spirit energy, and her clothes were instantly dyed red with blood. Stupid girl! You are not my match at all. I will give you one last chance. If you surrender obediently, I will spare your life. Fan Zhen was extremely curious about those iron puppets and the sudden rupture talisman, so he planned to capture them alive. Yun Chujio did not bother with him at all, because it was not easy for this fellow to catch his breath. How would he have time to talk nonsense? Fan Zhen saw that Yun Chujio did not reply and could not help but snort coldly. He stepped up his attack once again. Yun Chujio really could not hold on any longer. Just when this guy was about to let Xiao Hanio curse him, he heard someone say coldly, "You dare to touch my woman? You're courting death." At the same time, a huge ice dragon pounced towards Fan Zhen. Fan Zhen had no choice but to give up on attacking Yun Chujio and use his spirit energy python to block the ice dragon. Yun Chujio took advantage of this moment to leap to the side with all her might and started to pant heavily. This fellow was cursing in his heart. Although the way the pretty boy appeared was a little pretentious, it had to be said that he had arrived just in time. The person who had arrived was Di Baiming. Coincidentally, Di Baiming had heard in Feng's report that Yun Chujio had been in the Prodigy Palace for many days and had not come out. Although he was already a little numb, he was still worried and rushed over. He didn't expect that when he was about to reach the Tianyuan Academy, he would receive in Feng's report that something had happened to the Tianyuan Academy. Only then did he rush over with all his might. Prince Charming. Kill this bastard. I support you spiritually. Yun Chujio panted as she cheered for Di Baiming. Di Baiming raised his eyebrows slightly. All right. Although Fan Zhen was a little surprised by Di Baiming's arrival, he did not take Di Baiming seriously. However, when he realized that Di Baiming's ice dragon was actually gaining the upper hand, he could not help but be shocked. There was actually such a strong person in the Tianyuan continent. Didn't they say that the Tianyuan continent was only a low-level continent? Why was that wretched girl so perverted? Was this young man so powerful? Fan Zhen only then noticed that Di Baiming actually had an ice spirit root. This could also explain why Di Baiming's cultivation base was only at the 8th level of the spiritual venerable realm, but he was on par with him. Di Baiming and Fan Zhen fought intensely. Fan Zhen had already used up a lot of spirit energy previously, but Di Baiming was full of spirit energy, so Di Baiming gradually gained the upper hand. At this time, Yun Chujio, this pervert, quickly recovered her strength with the help of Guai Chao. She screamed and rushed up again. Although this guy's spiritual power was not high, his mouth was sharp. He kept saying, "Bastard, what is the point of a scumbag like you living? If I were you, I would have smashed myself to death with tofu. And you still live with your face licked? You are really shameless. What kind of person uses what kind of spiritual beast? My Prince Charming uses an awe-inspiring ice dragon, and you actually use a little loach, how embarrassing." Fan Zhen was really angry and said angrily, "Stupid girl. My spiritual beast is a giant python. Besides, your spiritual beast is a pig, it's even more useless. TCH. What do you know? In pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Besides, what's wrong with being a pig? I'll sleep after eating, I'm so free. I wish I was a pig. Look. Your men are coming out of the tower." Fan Zhen subconsciously looked in the direction of the trial tower. At the same time, Xiao Hanio cursed. Fan Zhen staggered. In addition, his eyes were looking in the direction of the trial tower, so he gave Di Baiming a great opportunity to sneak attack. Di Baiming naturally would not let go of such an opportunity. He struck his palm towards Fan Zhen's front heart. Fan Zhen knew that he had been tricked when he heard the sound of the wind. However, he staggered and it was too late for him to completely dodge Di Baiming's attack. He could only use all his strength to leap to the side. Although Fan Zhen had dodged the fatal blow, he was still swept by Di Baiming's palm wind. He could not help but stagger again. Then, he was unlucky. Yun Chujio loved it the most. She was good at backstabbing. She had already calculated the timing and location. Just as Fan Zhen was about to stagger again, Yun Chujio's little purple needle and the sudden rupture talisman arrived at the same time. Fan Zhen only saw the sudden rupture talisman but did not see the little purple needle mixed in it. So he was in deep trouble. A little purple needle was shot at his left eye. Along with the sound of explosion, Fan Zhen let out a shrill scream, my eye." Just as Fan Zhen was screaming in pain, Yun Chujiu threw a few more stacks of broken talismans at him. Di Baiming's ice dragon also pounced on him ferociously. No matter how high Fan Zhen's spiritual power was, he was not a match for Di Baiming and Little Jiu when his left eye was injured. After 15 minutes, Fan Zhen was dead. Yun Chujiu hurriedly put away the 5 puppets and Fan Zhen's bodies, then followed Di Baiming to the battlefield. The battle ahead was going on intensely. Anfeng did not bring many dark guards with him, and the remaining 7 people had high spiritual power. Anfeng and the others were obviously at a disadvantage. Fortunately, the dry old man had recovered a little after taking a breather just now. He had struggled with all his might to hold on until now. However, almost all of them were wounded, and some of them were on the verge of death. "Damn it! You are really courting death. To tell you the truth, your bastard leader has already been killed by me. If you don't want to die, quickly surrender." Yun Chuji's voice came first. When the 7 people heard Yun Chuji's words, they could not help but be shocked. The leader and the 7 brothers had been killed. How was this possible? It must be this stinky girl's nonsense. However, where did the leader and the 7 brothers go? It was probably this stinky girl's trick that lured them to another place. Although the 7 people were puzzled, they did not care too much. Even if the leader and the 7 brothers were lured to another place, the 7 of them were enough to deal with these people. After Yun Chujiu and Di Baiming joined the battle group, although the situation was slightly better, the situation was still leaning towards the black-robed man's side. This was because Anfeng and the others were already seriously injured, and their combat strength had been greatly reduced. Yun Chujiu knew that now was not the time to hide things. She took out a lot of heaven-grade blood coagulation pills from her storage ring and threw them to Anfeng and the others. After Anfeng and the others consumed the pills, their internal injuries and wounds healed quickly, and a part of their combat strength was restored. The battle situation between the 2 sides was very anxious. At this moment, a demonic voice was heard saying, "Fuck. How dare you bully my little sister Jiu? You're really courting death. Hua Hua, Jiao Jiao, go." Yun Chujiu saw that it was Shui Wuji who came and could not help but be very happy. "Brother Wuji, you came at the right time. Quickly use your spiritual power skull to smash these bastards to death." Shui Wuji raised his hand, and a huge spiritual power skull smashed towards a black-clothed person. That black-clothed person had a dumbfounded expression. Weren't spiritual power materializing into the shape of a beast? How could this red-clothed man materialize into a skull? He actually had a wind spirit root. Although the situation had not fallen into a disadvantageous position, the black-clothed person had an ominous premonition in his heart. These people were really too strange. Although the little girl's spiritual power was not high, she had countless defensive spirit tools and countless sudden cracking talismans. She had also encountered an ice spirit root and a wind spirit root. How could such a strong person appear on such a low-level continent like the Tianyuan continent? With the addition of Shui Wuji in the other 2, Yun Chujiu had a slight advantage. However, she was not confident in taking down 7 people. The best result would only be to chase 7 people away. At this moment, another person came. The person who came had a cold expression, and there was a trace of gloominess in his eyes. It was Lan Luochen. Although Di Baiming and Shui Wuji did not like Lan Luochen, they were still very happy to see him. With him here, the Tianyuan Academy's side had the complete advantage. Lan Luochen did not say anything and directly joined the battle. At this moment, Di Baiming, Shui Wuji, and Lan Luochen were each dealing with a black-robed man. The dried-up old man and Dean Huangfu were dealing with a black-robed man, while the remaining Dark Wind and the others were working together to deal with the remaining 3 black-robed men. Although the level of the black-robed man's spirit energy was higher than Di Baiming and the others, after all, a lot of spirit energy had been consumed. Hence, Di Biming and the other two had the upper hand. Yun Chujiu blinked her eyes. She had to be more strategic. Thus, she said to Shui Wuji, "Brother Wuji, leave this scum to me. You and my Prince Charming will work together and end this quickly." Although Shui Wuji was a Chinibu, he was very smart. He immediately understood what Yun Chujiu meant. After getting rid of his opponent with a feint, he joined hands with Di Biming to deal with the same black-clothed man. The black-clothed man was about to go forward to rescue him, but Yun Chujiu stopped him. "Dregs, let's exchange a few moves," Yun Chujiu said with a smile. The black-clothed man snorted coldly. "There are too many people here. You can't use the sudden rupture talisman at all. Your defensive spirit tool has been used up. What other trump cards do you have? You're courting death. It's not certain who's courting death. Tremble, dregs." Yun Chujiu threw several small purple needles at the black-clothed man. After the black-clothed man easily dodged, he threw a palm at Yun Chujiu. The two of them tangled together. Yun Chujiu was naturally no match for the man in black, but this guy had helpers. The three little ones that had not displayed their skills for a long time were released, especially the Xiao Hanyo. This guy had been waiting for a chance to prove himself. Damn it, it seemed like it did not help its master at all except for curses. That was because the places where its black-hearted master went were often prohibited from flying. This time, it was finally time for it to show its skills. Let its fans see that this young master has some skills. Xiao Hanyo flew into the air and threw a big fireball at the black-clothed man. The black-clothed man quickly dodged to the side, and the four-tailed Xiao Hong Red Fox fireball arrived again. Just as the black-clothed man was about to dodge, a hole appeared under his feet, and one of his feet was stuck in it. Just as the black-clothed man pulled his foot out, Yun Chujiu's purple needle and spiritual piglet arrived again. Although the three silly cuties and Yun Chujiu's spirit energy were not high, they could not withstand the three strikes from the air, the ground, and the ground. The black-robed man was flustered and agitated. Yun Chujiu's goal was to stall this black-robed man. As long as Di Biming and Shui Wuji finished one, she would come over to help. Therefore, this guy was very confident. As expected, the combined might of Di Biming and Shui Wuji was quite powerful. Very quickly, they killed a black-robed man. Immediately, they came over to help Yun Chujiu deal with this black-robed man. The black-robed man did not have an easy time dealing with Yun Chujiu and the three dumb beasts. The moment Di Biming and Shui Wuji joined in, they immediately fell into a disadvantageous position. Very quickly, this black-robed man was also killed by Yun Chujiu and the others. The situation was completely reversed and the Tianyuan Academy had the absolute advantage. 2 hours later, only 2 black-robed men were left. The remaining 5 black-robed men had all died. The 2 black-robed men knew that the situation was over and they wanted to escape. Yun Chujiu knew that they had to eradicate the roots of the problem. Once they escaped, it might bring even greater disaster to the Tianyuan Academy. Hence, Yun Chujiu gave Di Biming and the others a look. Everyone surrounded the two of them, not giving them any chance to escape. After another round of fighting, the remaining 2 men in black were finally killed by the crowd. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. However, looking at the injured people everywhere, their hearts were extremely heavy. They knew that the sky was about to change. The spiritual power of the men in black who came this time was almost at the peak of the 9th level of the spiritual venerable realm. Just 21 of them almost destroyed the Tianyuan Academy. If more people came in the future, not to mention the Tianyuan Academy, even the Tianyuan continent would be hard to protect. However, now was not the time to think about these things. It was more important to treat the injured and deal with the aftermath. It was easy to deal with the injured with superficial injuries, but it was very difficult to deal with the students whose dantian had been shattered. If their dantian was destroyed, they could not cultivate, and their lives could be considered wasted. The dried old man was already seriously injured, and coupled with his guilt, he directly spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. Yun Chuzhou hurriedly fed the old man a medicinal pill, but the old man's injuries were too severe. Although his life was not in danger after consuming the medicinal pill, he would not wake up for at least 10 days to half a month. Yun Chuzhou had no choice but to send the old man to his residence. After having the secret guards of the Temple of Immortals protect him, she once again helped the crowd deal with the aftermath. This time, it could be said that the Tianyuan Academy had suffered the greatest damage. Fortunately, the crowd had experienced what it meant to be united as one, and their cohesiveness was stronger than before. In the final count, although no students had died, there were nearly 100 students whose dantian had been destroyed. The faces of those students were as ashen as death. Not being able to cultivate meant that they would only be ordinary people in the future, they only had a lifespan of a few decades. Yun Chuzhou frowned and could not help but sigh. If the Guai Chao in her dantian could not be removed in the future, it might end up like this. Could it be that her dantian was destroyed and she could not cultivate? Prince Charming, I seem to have heard you say that after the dantian is destroyed, the dantian can be rebuilt. Can you rebuild the dantian for these students? Yun Chuzhou whispered to Di Baiming. Di Baiming sighed, Little Jiu, if it's that simple, I don't have to worry about the Guai Chao in your dantian. Although my master has the art of dantian reconstruction, the dantian after reconstruction is extremely fragile. If it's not done properly, it will be destroyed again. Therefore, the spiritual power of the person who reconstructs the dantian can only remain below the level of a spiritual venerable. Even so, it's still better than being a cripple. Ask my martial uncle if he can help them reconstruct their dantian. If they need spirit stones or herbs, I can provide them. Yun Chuzhou said with a pained expression. Di Baiming could not help but curl the corners of his mouth. Little Jiu, are you really willing to do it? Yun Chuzhou sighed. Of course I'm not willing to do it. However, you also know that those people in black came for my master. These students were implicated. My master must feel guilty. As his disciple, if I can help him, I can at least alleviate his guilt. Di Baiming comforted, I will definitely fight for it with my master. Moreover, these students are not very talented. Even if their dantian is not destroyed, they might not be able to cultivate to the level of a spiritual venerable. Therefore, you should advise your master not to feel too guilty. Moreover, the path of cultivation is full of dangers. You can't blame others if your strength isn't good enough. Yun Chuzhou obviously knew that Di Baiming was comforting her. She nodded, okay, let's deal with the aftermath first. Then, there's a big thing waiting for us to do. Di Baiming was stunned, what big thing? There are still 7 people trapped in the trial tower. Wait until everything is settled here. Well, close the door and kill the dogs. Well, release one person from the trial tower and kill another. Well, leave behind a soul search and well know the background of these people. Yun Chuzhou said fiercely. If they hurt her master, none of them would be able to live. Di Baiming nodded. Alright, let's first recover our physical strength and spiritual power. Then, well, think of a foolproof plan before killing them. After a day and night of cleaning up, the Tianyuan Academy temporarily regained its peace. As the old man was unconscious, there was no way for them to ask any questions. Hence, everyone could only gather together to discuss how to deal with the 7 people in the trial tower. Finally, everyone discussed. After setting up layers of formations, they would have the trial tower release everyone one by one. This way, they would be able to ensure that every person that came out would be killed without leaving any trouble behind. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. As everyone was tired after working for a day and a night, they decided to rest for the night and move out the next morning. Di Biming directly followed Yun Chujio to Yun Chujia's dormitory to rest. Now, no one had the mood to gossip about these things. Only Lan Luchen's eyes flickered a few times, but he did not say anything. As for Xue Wuji, he did not have the sour feeling of the past at all. Instead, he could not help but think of that lecherous woman. He spat at himself a few times and then went to the guest room to rest. After Di Biming and Yun Chujio washed up, Di Biming asked, "Little Jiu, didn't you say that you were trapped in the prodigy hall? How did you get out?" When Yun Chujio heard Di Biming's question, she immediately recounted the incident to Di Biming with great joy. At that time, Yun Chujio was about to take the opportunity to form a contract with the small eagle, but a white light flashed in front of her eyes. When Yun Chujio opened her eyes again, she found that she had returned to the palace from before. Yun Chujio thought that they should have a normal test this time, but after waiting for a long time, there was still no movement. "Qi Ling, get out here." "What do you mean?" "Bastard! Have you been angered by me?" "Coward, if you have the ability, come out. A timid Qi Ling like you is simply a disgrace to the Qi Ling world." No matter how Yun Chujio cursed, Qi Ling did not make a sound, and the surrounding environment did not change. Fuck! Did the damn Qi Ling want to trap me in this palace? Yun Chujio was right. The Qi Ling of the Heaven's Pride Palace realized that Yun Chujio was too abnormal. She was able to trick the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle to give her her child. Such a freak probably would not be able to stop her no matter what. Since that was the case, she would use the same strategy to deal with all the changes. Trap her to death. Yun Chujio cursed until her mouth was dry, but it was of no use. She simply began to use the rolling pin to knock around, trying to find a loophole. Unfortunately, after busying herself for a long time, she still couldn't find any exit, so she could only stop and rest. For 3 days in a row, Yun Chujio still couldn't find an exit. The weapon spirit remained silent as if it was dead. In fact, this guy was hiding in a corner and jumping with joy. "Damn it! You little brat, you also have this day. You shall be trapped here for the rest of your life." Ha ha ha. Just as Qi Ling was showing off, she heard Yun Chujio say faintly, "Qi Ling, I wonder if your Pride of Heaven Palace is afraid of being burned by fire? How about I light a fire for you?" Qi Ling was stunned at first, then pursed her lips. Did this little brat think that this Qi Ling was brainless? Ordinary flames could not burn down this palace. Moreover, if she were to light a fire, she would be the first to be burnt to death. Qi Ling did not believe that she would really dare to set a fire. Just as Qi Ling was thinking about this, she saw Yun Chujio call out a black fire-spitting crow from her spiritual beast pouch. The fire-spitting crow opened its mouth, a large fireball with purple lightning power smashed towards a corner of the palace. Just because the fire could not destroy the palace did not mean that the fireball spat out by Xiao Hanio could not destroy it. The corner of the palace immediately caught fire. The weapon spirit Qi Ling scolded, "Stupid girl. Are you crazy? Aren't you afraid that you will also be burned to death if you catch fire?" Yun Chujio giggled, "Little bastard, you finally dare to speak. You don't have to worry for me. I have the fire-repelling pearl in my hands, so even if the palace is burned to ashes, I will be fine." Seeing the fire-repelling pearl in Yun Chujio's hand, the artifact spirit of the Pride of Heaven Palace was both shocked and angry. It was really the fire-repelling pearl. How could this damned brat have a fire-repelling pearl? "Little bastard, I reckon you'll be bored inside the Pride of Heaven Palace. How fun would it be if I set you on fire? It's like setting off fireworks." Yun Chujio said with a grin. "Setting off fireworks? Set your head on fire." If the Pride of Heaven Palace was burned down, would the spirit of this item be able to move? Qi Ling was terrified. Qi Ling finally put out the fire with great difficulty and then said in a low voice, "Stinky, little fairy, I'm just teasing you. I'll let you out right now." Humph. Have you ever heard the saying, it's easy to invite the gods but hard to send them off? You want to send me off just like that? Let me tell you, even if you forcefully send me out, I will still burn your asshole nest outside. No one dares to say anything wrong when I say one thing in Tianyuan Academy. You know about the trial tower, right? The little black frog in there is now very obedient under my care. Entering and leaving the trial tower is just like playing with it. So, if you don't show some sincerity today, HMPH, we're not done. Yun Chujio said arrogantly with her hands on her waist. Qi Ling wanted to cry but had no tears. It knew that what Yun Chujio said was definitely true because this black-hearted person could think of any bad ideas. Even the golden-winged vermilion-beaked eagle was tricked into giving the small eagle to her. What else could she not do? Little fairy, what do you want? What do you want? Come out and let me beat you up first. Well, little fairy, it's better to be famous than to meet each other. Let's preserve some mystery. Qi Ling had a spiritual heart. Unless this Qi Ling was stupid, he would only go out. If he went out, it would definitely not be good. Pa! You shameless bastard. And you even used words with me. It's fine even if we don't meet. You've turned my points into infinity, so that I can forever occupy the first place. Then, you can compensate me with 100 immortal items, and I won't burn your fucking nest. Qi Ling was about to cry. The points were fine, but where could he get 100 immortal items? Little fairy, I really don't have an immortal item. Think about it, my Heaven's Pride Tower is just for testing, there's no reward at all, so how could I have an immortal item? If you don't have an immortal item, then use supreme grade spirit stones to exchange. One immortal item costs 1 million supreme grade spirit stones, just give me 100 million supreme grade spirit stones. Qi Ling almost vomited blood. 100 million supreme grade spirit stones. Why don't you go and rob it? No, even if you rob it, you can't get it. Do you think supreme grade spirit stones are like cabbages? Little fairy, first of all, we don't have that many supreme grade spirit stones, and second of all, the Heaven's Pride role needs supreme grade spirit stones to operate. Please do me a favor. I'm begging you. Qi Ling lost all her temper, crying and begging for mercy. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. This damn Qi Ling made some sense. If they didn't have top-grade spirit stones, the prodigy role wouldn't be able to operate. At that time, old man Huangfu would probably strangle her to death. Forget it. Forget it. I'm a kind-hearted person. Qi Ling heard Yun Chujio's words and was about to shed tears of gratitude, however, Yun Chujio continued, however, we don't have immortal tools or top-grade spirit stones. Just pay with your flesh. Come on, let me ravage you to my heart's content. Then, well, call it even. Qi Ling's head was shaking like a rattledrum, and he couldn't leave even if he was beaten to death. This black-hearted man could even kill a newborn small eagle, so wouldn't he torture his own Qi Ling to death? Qi Ling knew that Yun Chujio would not let it go without a little blood. She could only clench her teeth and say, little fairy, although I don't have any immortal items or top-grade spirit stones, I can give you a top-grade item. Top-grade item? What good item? What good item can you have with your poor appearance? Although Yun Chujio was overjoyed in her heart, she had a contemptuous expression on her face. The weapon spirit was successfully stimulated by Yun Chujio's competitive spirit, she said loudly, humph. Although this weapon spirit is a little poor, this thing was considered a rare item in the ancient times. This was obtained with great difficulty by my first master. Little bastard, who doesn't know how to boast. What exactly is it? Hearing the weapon spirit's words, Yun Chujio felt like a cat scratching her heart. It must be a good thing to say so much. What exactly was it? It's a formation to repair remnant souls, the Great Void Soul Repairing Formation. As long as you have this formation, you can repair remnant souls. This is definitely a heaven-defying formation. You're the only one who met this item spirit. Otherwise, you wouldn't have found this heaven-defying formation even if you went to the heavens and earth. With this Great Void Soul Repairing Formation, Yun Chujio did not listen to the bragging behind the item spirit. 3 golden words flashed repeatedly in her mind: I've made a fortune. Ha ha ha. With the Great Void Soul Mending Formation, she could repair the remnant souls of Fu Ao and the rest. Other things aside, as long as she could repair the remnant souls of Tao Wu and Xiong Qi, they would be 2 great killing weapons. Although she might lose a part of her soul every time she came out, she could repair it again. Waha, I've struck it rich. It was really worth it to enter the prodigy role. Thank you, Tianyuan Academy. Thank you, Heaven's Pride role. Thank you, Qi Ling. Thank you, Old Witch, for making things difficult for me. Even though this fellow was about to go crazy with joy. However, he curled his lips and said, Great Void Soul Mending Formation. What you said is pretty awesome, but I don't have a remnant soul to use to repair it, so what's the use of having it? However, I don't think you can bring out any other good things, so I'll reluctantly agree to it. Hearing Yun Chujia's words, the weapon spirit was afraid that she would go back on her words, so it quickly threw a sheepskin scroll to Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio had just received the sheepskin scroll when a white light flashed in front of her eyes. When she opened her eyes again, she was already outside the prodigy role. Yun Chujio saw that the first name on the screen had indeed been changed to her name. Other people's names were followed by the number of points. Only her name was followed by 3 bright words, infinity. Yun Chujio nodded her head in satisfaction. Just as she was about to check the sheepskin scroll, she smelled a strong smell of blood. So, she hurriedly put away the sheepskin scroll and rushed to save her. Prince Charming, you have reminded me. I have to see if this sheepskin scroll is the Great Void Soul Repairing Formation. If the weapon spirit on the prodigy roll dares to touch me, I will burn its shit nest. Yun Chujio took out the sheepskin scroll as she spoke. When she opened it to take a look, she was dumbfounded. The sheepskin scroll was densely packed with words, but they were all ancient characters. Yun Chujio could only recognize a few sparse words. Yun Chujio was so angry that she cursed the prodigy roll's Qi Ling. Di Baiming could not help but laugh. Little Jiu, this Great Void Soul Mending Formation was originally left behind from the ancient times. Naturally, it was written in ancient characters. You've wronged the weapon spirit of the prodigy role. Yun Chujio thought about it and it made sense. If it was not written in ancient characters, then it meant that it was fake. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Prince Charming, I thought that I would reach the peak of my life from now on. As long as I learn the Great Void Soul Repairing Formation and repair the remnant souls of Tao Wu and Xiong Qi, who could be my little fairy Joe's match? What a pity, it was just a daydream, Yun Chujio said with a sigh. Di Baiming could only comfort her. Yun Chujio's greatest strength was her big heart. She quickly threw this matter to the back of her mind and forced Di Baiming to sing a few lullabies. This fellow fell asleep soundly. She fell asleep, but Di Baiming did not feel sleepy at all. He sensed a huge crisis. Those black-clothed people were most likely from other high-grade continents. With the first batch, there would be a second batch. These people's spiritual power was too high. If they did not think of any effective methods, the Tianyuan continent would be in danger. Di Baiming's brows suddenly relaxed as he thought about it. This was because he thought of the Tianyuan continent and the Qingxian continent. When people from the Tianyuan continent arrived at the Qingxian continent, although their spiritual power was suppressed, it was like a wolf entering a flock of sheep. Then why did very few people go to the Qingxian continent? The reason was very simple. The most fundamental goal of a cultivator was to cultivate the great Tao. The rest of the matters were secondary. The spiritual qi of the low-level continents was much thinner than that of the high-level continents. There was no need to delay their cultivation just to show off. The enmity between Fan Zhen and the dry old man should have been decades ago. Now that he had found his way here, it meant that he had never thought that the dry old man would stoop down and come to the low-grade continents. Di Baiming finally came to a conclusion. If there was no reason that he had to come, the other people on Fan Zhen's continent would not easily come to the Tianyuan continent. When Di Baiming thought of this, he kissed Yun Chujiu on the forehead and fell asleep. The next morning, Di Baiming told Yun Chujiu his thoughts. Yun Chujiu blinked her starry eyes and said, "My Prince Charming, you are indeed my Prince Charming. You are so smart." Di Baiming's ears were slightly red and he said unnaturally, "Let's go to the trial tower quickly, in case something unexpected happens." After saying that, Di Baiming left the room in a hurry. Yun Chujiu touched her chin. Was the pretty boy embarrassed? Why was his skin getting thinner and thinner? When Yun Chujiu and Di Baiming arrived at the trial tower, Din Huangfu and the rest had also arrived. Only Xue Wuji yawned and came late. "Brother Wuji, your dark circles are too obvious. Didn't you sleep last night? What did you do?" Yun Chujiu asked curiously. Xue Wuji said in a slightly flustered manner, "Brother, I naturally couldn't sleep for the safety of the Tianyuan continent. How can I be like some people who sleep until dawn without a care in the world?" "Ah, so it's like that. Then, Brother Wuji, have you thought of any countermeasures? How can countermeasures be so easy to think of? Little sister Jiu, let's not talk about this anymore. Let's hurry up and deal with the bastard in the trial tower," Xue Wuji said with a slightly erratic gaze. Yun Chujiu pursed her lips. This Wu Ji's head must be hiding something from her. How could a heartless person like him think of a countermeasure? Pooey. When Xue Wuji saw that Yun Chujiu did not pursue the matter any further, he heaved a sigh of relief. He would never admit that he could not sleep after having a colorful dream last night. Seeing that everyone was ready, Yun Chujiu stretched her neck and shouted, "Xiao Hei, release one of the black-clothed men. It'll drain his blood." Although the weapon spirit of the trial tower was so aggrieved that it wanted to cry, it still obediently released one of the men in black. This was because it felt that Yun Chujiu, this black-hearted person, was much more terrifying than the men in black. Although those black-robed men had superb spiritual powers, the weapon spirit of the trial tower was too profound. These people had died countless times in there. Not to mention the 9th floor, even the 7th floor was impossible for them to pass through. Qi Ling and Yun Chujiu were the only ones who could pass through the 7th floor. The weapon spirit finally found a long-lost confidence in these people. It seemed that other than that pervert Yun Chujiu, the others were still unable to defeat this weapon spirit. A black-clothed person was released by the trial tower's Qi Ling. That person was beaten up by Yun Chujiu and the others with a dumbfounded expression. At first, that person thought that he was still in the trial tower. By the time he reacted, he was already beaten up to the point that he was on his last breath. After Yun Chujiu killed the black-clothed person with a rolling pin, she continued to let people out from the trial tower. After repeating this over and over again, the trial tower released one person after another until the last black-clothed man was released. After everyone beat the black-clothed man half to death, they restrained his spiritual energy. Yun Chujiu held the large kitchen knife used to extract confessions and said with a smile, "Speak, who are you people? Did you come to the Tianyuan continent just to seek revenge?" The black-clothed man snorted coldly and did not speak. Yun Chujiu directly cut his face and then took out a handful of chili flour from her storage ring and sprinkled it on him. Everyone could not help but feel a chill on their backs. This little pervert was becoming more and more perverted. We must not offend her. The black-robed man screamed miserably. Yun Chujio poured a basin of clear water on his face and said, "Are you going to tell me or not? If you are not going to tell me, I can add some salt to you. Of course, if you like sweet and sour, I can also add some sweet and sour for you." The man in black almost fainted from anger. Although he wanted to hold on, he thought that Fan Zhen was already dead. Why would he have to suffer? Hence, he was terrified. According to what the man in black said, they were all from the immortal Yuan continent. He was just a guard of Fan Zhen's family, so he was only following orders. As for the grudge between Fan Zhen and the dried-up old man, he knew very little. He only knew that Fan Zhen had been searching for the dried-up old man's whereabouts. When Yun Chujio heard about the immortal Yuan continent, her heart was moved. "You are from the immortal Yuan continent? Then do you know the Chaos Origin sect and the Killing Origin sect?" The man in black quickly said, "The Chaos Origin sect and the Killing Origin sect are the two famous super sects in the immortal Yuan continent. However, these two sects are in the Eastern continent, where the spiritual energy is rich. We are all from the Western continent." The immortal origin continent was divided into the Eastern and Western continents. The spiritual energy in the Eastern continent was much richer than that in the Western continent. The Western continent was lower than the Eastern continent in all aspects. Therefore, the people of the Western continent did not have much of a say in the Tian Yuan continent. Hearing the black-clothed man's words, everyone could only sigh. There was really someone better than them. These people from the Western continent were super experts in the Tian Yuan continent. They did not expect that they were at the lowest level of existence in the Tian Yuan continent. Yun Chujio asked a few more questions and in the end, there was nothing more to ask. She directly used a large kitchen knife to kill the black-robed man. After some discussion, everyone basically agreed with Di Baiming's opinion. It seemed that this was just a revenge. Since Fan Zhen was already dead, there shouldn't be anyone from the immortal Yuan continent who would come looking for trouble. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts. It just so happened that the holidays of the Tian Yuan Academy were about to arrive. Yun Chujio decided to shamelessly ask Dean Huangfu to approve her leave in advance. This fellow decided to go to the Netherworld continent with Di Baiming to meet her foster parents. After that, she would return to the Azure Mystic continent to show off. Visiting relatives. Jin Ji might as well follow Yun Chujio back to the Netherworld continent. In any case, she was only an exchange student. Dean Huangfu could only turn a blind eye to it. The journey was very smooth. The Saintess and Yun Zhongqing were very happy to see Yun Chujio. They immediately decided to set off for Qingxian continent. Sheng Envy and Yun Chujio were very happy to see Yun Chujio. Jin Ji was also very restless. She shamelessly followed them. Yun Chujio was very happy. The two little girls stuck together all day long. They were chattering happily. Besides the two of them, there was another person who was very happy. That was the all-round dark guard, Anfeng. Di Baiming glanced at Anfeng and frowned. He felt that Anfeng had been acting a little strange recently, and there was always a strange expression on his face. Di Baiming thought for a few days and finally thought of an adjective, rippling. However, Di Baiming was not in the mood to interrogate Anfeng right now. He was busy trying to gain a good impression of Sheng Envy and Yun Zhongqing every day. Yun Zhongqing was a little better off. He saw that Di Baiming had a dignified appearance and a high level of spiritual power. Moreover, he treated Yun Chujio very well, so he did not have any objections. The Saintess was different. She always remembered how the lady of the Sheng Envy made things difficult for Yun Chujio, so she was a little dissatisfied with Di Baiming. Therefore, Yun Chujio and Jin Ji were having fun. And Feng was secretly laughing while Di Biming was trying his best to please his mother-in-law. When they entered the Qing Xian continent, the Holy Maiden and Jin Ji's spiritual power had already degraded to the level of Sheng Nv. Di Biming and the other spiritual power had also decreased to different degrees. However, even if Di Biming and the other spiritual power had decreased, they were still top-notch existences in the Qing Xian continent. Moreover, Yun Chujiu had already made other arrangements. As soon as they arrived outside the Linghua city, they saw many people waiting for them. "Welcome, little ancestor Yun. Welcome, sect leader. Welcome, little fairy Jiu." At this moment, Yun Chujiu wished she could sing a song to express her smug feelings. Damn it, the serf that she had been a serf for so many years had finally turned around and started singing. This fellow pretended to nod at everyone. "All of you are very good. This fairy is very satisfied. After this fairy returns home to visit my grandfather, I will look for all of you to catch up on old times. Oh right, long time no see. Did you guys prepare a lot of good things for me?" When everyone saw that Yun Chujiu was still so shameless, they immediately felt very familiar with her. After greeting her, they watched Yun Chujiu enter Linghua city. "Father, mother, did you see that? Little Jiu, I am very impressive. Beauty Jinji, did you see that? Did you look down on me back then? Now that you are so weak, you still need me to protect you. Male God, do you still remember? When we first met, I was still a trash who couldn't cultivate. Did you think that I would be so awesome today? Little madman, do you still remember that when we were chased by those people from the Heaven sect, we were in a very sorry state? Now who dares to touch fairy me? I'll kill him." The corners of everyone's eyes twitched violently. "Little Jiu, you can show off, but you have to have a limit, right? Aren't you going a little too far by showing off like this?" Everyone soon arrived at the Yun mansion. Yun Chujiu had already sent a message to Yun Xiaotian, and it was a gradual one at that. She was just afraid that the old man would be too surprised and something might go wrong. The people of the Yun mansion were waiting outside the gate. Originally, Yun Xiaotian was an elder, so he did not need to come out. However, the old man was too excited, so he ignored everyone's advice and waited at the gate. Yun Zenking's tiger-like eyes were filled with tears. He knelt in front of Yun Xiaotian and said, "Father, the unfilial son is back." Yun Xiaotian was also in tears. "It's good that he's back, it's good that he's back." Sheng Nv also knelt down and bowed. In an instant, everyone burst into tears. "Ahem. Ahem. Why are you crying over such a happy occasion?" "Grandfather, little Jiu, I haven't had lunch yet. Can you give me some food before you cry?" Yun Chujiu was afraid that Yun Xiaotian would cry, so she could only joke around with a smile. "Grandfather has prepared a lot of your favorite food for you. Lunch is also ready. Hurry up and come in." Yun Xiaotian wiped away his tears. He saw that Yun Chujiu had grown up to be more elegant and refined. Now, she had found her son and daughter-in-law back. Naturally, he felt very comforted. Yun Chujiu introduced Jin Ji to everyone. After everyone greeted her, they all entered the Yun mansion happily. Yun Chujiu felt that she was simply too blissful right now. She had family, loved ones, and friends. There were also countless spirit stones in her storage ring. Wasn't that the pinnacle of her life? In the next few days, Yun Chujiu brought Jin Ji around. Today, she went to the Thunder sect to show off, and tomorrow, she went to the Linghua sect to show off. She was just short of announcing to the world that she, Yun Chujiu, had returned. Di Biming was not as heartless as her. He seized every opportunity to create a good impression in front of the Yun family. He had already decided in his heart that after returning to the Tian Yuan continent this time, he would give the betrothal gifts and wait for Yun Chujiu to graduate before getting married. Yun Chuzhou and the others had stayed in the Qin Xian continent for more than half a month. Although the saintess had tried her best to invite Yun Xiaotian and the others to settle down in the netherworld continent, Yun Xiaotian was still unable to leave his hometown. Everyone had no choice but to leave in tears. "Grandfather, we will come back to see you soon. Don't worry, when the time comes, my mother might bring back a grandchild for you." Yun Chuzhou stood on the flying spirit tool and said with a smile. The sadness of leaving was immediately washed away by Yun Chujia's interference. After Yun Chuzhou and Di Baiming escorted the saintess and Yun Zhongqing to the netherworld continent, they returned to the Tian Yuan continent. Yun Chuzhou and the Sheng Envy had also returned to the Tian Yuan continent. Yun Chuzhou had not seen the palace master's wife for a long time, so she decided to follow Di Baiming back to the Temple of Immortals to take a look. Naturally, Di Baiming was more than happy to do so. "Beauty Jin Ji, it's not interesting for you to return to the Tian Yuan Academy alone. Follow me to the Temple of Immortals as a guest. Let me tell you, the food cooked in the dining hall of the prince's family is so delicious. There's also a large forest of spirit fruits. The fruits on them are very sweet and tempting." Jin Ji slapped Di Baiming's cold arrow. "Good. Good. I heard about the Temple of Immortals in the Netherworld. It's a good opportunity for me to experience it." Di Baiming wished he could slap Jin Ji away. However, he was afraid that Yun Chuzhou would be angry, so he could only keep quiet with a dark face. Jin Ji knew that Di Baiming was unhappy, but this guy had a big heart. As long as Yun Chuzhou was happy, she did not care whether Di Baiming was happy or not. The two little girls hit it off very well. They chatted endlessly and soon, the flying spirit tool arrived at the Longevity Palace. "Auntie. Little Jiu came to see you. Did you miss me?" Yun Chuzhou directly gave the palace mistress a big hug. "You're already a big girl. And you're still so unstable." Although the palace mistress said so, her eyelashes were happy. It was clear that she was very happy. Yun Chuzhou introduced Jin Ji to the hall master's wife. The hall master's wife said some polite words and gave Jin Ji a greeting gift. Everyone began to chat happily. Although Di Baiming had already told the hall master's wife some things, the hall master's wife still asked about it. Yun Chuzhou said it again with a beaming face. When she mentioned the mother-daughter relationship, the hall master's wife also shed a few tears. Yun Chuzhou thought of the matter of the prodigy role. She said rather smugly, "Aunt, I'm really sorry. When I challenged the prodigy role, I accidentally got first place on the overall role. Moreover, this first place will never be snatched away by others in the future." When the palace master's wife heard Yun Chujia's words, she could not help but be stunned. First place on the overall ranking. It's impossible for someone else to snatch it away. What does that mean? Yun Chuzhou, this fellow, had long been prepared. She did not mind the effort and specially drew the prodigy role. "Aunt, look, I've already drawn it for you. You and uncle can take a look. This fellow is very vengeful. HMPH, didn't you look down on me back then? Didn't you say that I would not be able to enter the top 100? I will give you the first place back. And it will be the eternal first place. I will ask you, are you surprised? Does your face hurt?" When the palace mistress and Di Linhan saw the three words, infinity, behind Yun Chujia's name, they could not help but be dumbfounded. Is this even a joke? Was the weapon spirit of the prodigy role having a stroke? Why did it give such an unreliable point? Infinity, it would indeed forever dominate the first place. The palace mistress was not as petty as Yun Chuzhou. She said with a smile, "Little Jiu girl, since you have obtained the first place on the prodigy role, I will arrange for people to go to the netherworld continent and the Qing Xian continent to deliver the betrothal gifts. Once you graduate, the two of you will be married. If it were any other girl, she would definitely be shy. However, Yun Chujio had always been different from others. When she heard the palace master's wife say this, grinning, she said, "Aunt, remember to prepare the betrothal gifts in a grand manner. I'll only have face if I marry like this." The corners of everyone's eyes twitched. No one could be this thick-skinned. In the next few days, Yun Chujio brought Jin Ji to the Temple of Immortals to have fun. Unexpectedly, on this afternoon, an uninvited guest came to the Temple of Immortals. An Feng came to report that Yun Chujio and the others were having lunch. Everyone was laughing and laughing happily. "Temple Master, Your Excellency, a group of people has come. Their spiritual power is unfathomable. The leader is a woman who is slightly older. She asked to see Miss Jiu by name." Everyone was shocked. Spiritual power was unfathomable. Requested to see Yun Chujio by name. "Father, I'll go out and see what's going on." Di Baiming stood up and prepared to go out and see what was going on. However, Yun Chujio said, "Prince Charming, since she said request to see, it means that either she has a request for me or her status is lower than mine. Since that's the case, you don't have to lower yourself to see her. Little madman, tell the people outside that the woman is only allowed to bring in 2 maids at most. The rest are not allowed to come in. Baiming, little Jiu is right. Just let that person come in and ask about the situation," the palace master's wife said from the side. Di Baiming could only nod at An Feng, who then turned around and left. Yun Chujio and the others stood up and went to the living room. They were all puzzled. Who exactly were the people who came? A moment later, 3 people came in from outside. The leader was a woman who looked to be about 50 years old. Of course, the age and appearance of cultivators didn't match. She looked to be 50 years old. Perhaps she was over 100 years old or a few hundred years old. The woman's clothes were very gorgeous, and the workmanship and materials used were extremely exquisite. However, there wasn't a trace of a smile on her face. Behind the woman were 2 maids. Their looks were very beautiful, but there was a trace of disdain on the corners of their eyes and brows. When Di Baiming and the others saw the 3 people, their hearts tightened. The spiritual power of these 3 people was unfathomable. Especially that woman. Her spiritual power seemed to be even more profound than Fan Zhen's spiritual power. Who exactly were these people? Why were they looking for little Jiu? "May I know how to address this lady? What brings you to my palace of immortals?" Di Linhan asked in a low voice. The expression on the lattice face remained unchanged, but Yun Chujio quickly caught a trace of disdain in her eyes. "I am Manager Xia of the Mo clan on the immortal Yuan continent. I am here under the orders of my clan head and lady to welcome the eldest daughter back to the Mo clan." "Eldest daughter, please." Di Linhan and the others were immediately taken aback. "Eldest miss? Could she be referring to little Jiu?" "Manager Xia, may I know who the eldest miss you are referring to?" Di Linhan continued to ask. Manager Xia raised her chin slightly and looked at Yun Chujio. "In your place, she should be called Yun Chujio, right? Eldest miss, the family head and madam are missing their daughters dearly. Come back to the Mo residence with me immediately." The wife of the palace lord could not take it anymore. Outrageous. Even if they were to recognize each other as family, there would be no one like you. What evidence do you have to prove that little Jiu is your young miss? Moreover, even if little Jiu is really the young miss of your Mo residence, you are just a servant and you have such an attitude. A trace of viciousness flashed in Manager Xia's eyes, and she raised her hand to strike the wife of the palace lord. Fortunately, Di Linhan had acted in time to neutralize the strike, but she could feel the spirit energy within her dantian trembling intensely. A shadow could not help but form in her heart. Manager Xia's spirit energy was truly unfathomable. What right does an ant from a lower-grade continent have to question this manager? If it was not for the sake of the eldest miss, I would have long sent people to exterminate your so-called Palace of Immortals. A power from a lower-grade continent actually dared to call themselves the Palace of Immortals. They really overestimated their own abilities, making people laugh out loud. Manager Xia saw that their relationship had been torn to shreds. Her words became even more arrogant. When Yun Chuzhou saw that Di Baiming was about to make a move, she spoke first. Manager Xia, may I know if the Mo clan you mentioned is in the eastern continent or the western continent of the Immortal Origin continent? When Manager Xia heard this, she couldn't help but feel a little surprised. This country bumpkin even knew that the Immortal Origin continent was divided into the eastern continent and the western continent. She probably heard it by chance. Our Mo residence is in the western continent, but our family is in the eastern continent. Miss, with your spiritual power, there is still some time left for you to ascend, but now you can directly go to the Immortal Essence continent. You have reached the sky in one step. Hurry up and follow me. Of course, you can leave, but you have to prove that I am the Miss that you speak of. Otherwise, if I go up and enjoy a few good days, and you call me an imposter, wouldn't I be happy for nothing? Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. Manager Xia could not help but despise her in his heart. One look and he could tell that she was greedy for wealth. This would be easy to handle. Lady, our Mo residents will naturally not simply find someone to recognize them as family. This time, we naturally have conclusive evidence. Eldest Miss appearance is exactly the same as that of the late madam. In addition, we have already found your foster mother and obtained this small quilt from her. The corner of this small quilt has our Mo residence's special imprint. Moreover, the time we found you also coincides with the time you went missing at that time, so eldest Miss doesn't need to doubt your identity. Oh, since that's the case, then I'm relieved. Oh right, what have you done with my foster father and foster mother? Manager Xia saw that Yun Chuzhou did not look worried about her adoptive father and adoptive mother. On the contrary, she looked excited. In her heart, she was even more contemptuous. They are unharmed. As long as Miss follows us back to the Mo family, we will release your adoptive parents. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. The veins on Di Baiming's forehead were popping up. If it wasn't for Yun Chuzhou's continuous expression, he would have been unable to suppress the anger in his heart. How was this acknowledging family? It was clearly snatching people away. Manager Xia, this good news really caught me off guard. Can you let me pack my things first? Yun Chuzhou was still smiling. Manager Xia's eyes flashed with a hint of disdain. She was certain that Yun Chuzhou was so vain that she would definitely agree to follow her back to the Mo family, therefore, she nodded. All right, then I'll wait outside. However, Miss, although your adoptive parents are safe and sound now, it's hard to say in another 4 hours. After saying that, Manager Xia arrogantly left with the two handmaidens. Di Baiming's face was gloomy. Little Jiu, you can't go with them. Little Jiu girl. You can't be stupid. Even if you really are that Mo residence's young miss, you can tell from this old woman's attitude that they definitely have bad intentions when they look for you. The palace master's wife said anxiously from the side. Jin Ji was even more direct. Little Jiu, didn't that old woman already say it? Your mother is already dead. As the saying goes, if you have a stepmother, you'll have a stepfather. Your father will definitely not side with you. You're just looking for trouble if you go back. Yun Chuzhou sighed. How can I not know what you are saying? But you have also heard it. My foster parents are in their hands. If I don't go back with them, their lives will be in danger. Moreover, there are still dozens of people outside. Their spiritual powers are not weaker than Fan Zhen and the others. Can we beat them? Taking a step back, even if we can kill these people, will the Mo residents let it go? Once they really go all out, not to mention the Temple of Immortals, even if all the experts of the Tianyuan continent were to gather together, they would not be a match for them. Di Baiming's eyes were bloodshot, he held Yun Chujia's hand tightly. No matter what the reason is, you cannot go with them. If they really want to acknowledge us as family, I will definitely not stop you. However, they clearly have bad intentions. If you go, you will be entering a dragon's den and a tiger's den. Prince Charming, calm down. Do you think we have any other choice? Even if we can escape, what about my adoptive parents? Since they have already found my adoptive parents, they naturally know about my grandfather and the others. Can they defeat these people? Although I'm not a good person, I can't harm my family and friends just because of myself. Prince Charming, I believe in you. As long as I give you some time, you will definitely be strong enough to save me. You must also believe in me and bring me back to their Mo residence. Who knows, someone might be unlucky. I can go from being a trash who cannot cultivate to becoming a heaven's favorite in the Tianyuan continent. Naturally, I can also become the overlord of the immortal Yuan continent. Besides, Prince Charming, have you forgotten? Other than the old man, I still have 2 masters. If I really can't do it, I will use this identity to save my life. Yun Chujia's expression was extremely serious. She saw that Di Baiming had calmed down a little, then, she said, Prince Charming, after I leave, you must protect yourself like jade. Don't be seduced by that little fairy, or I will kill you and that little fairy. Everyone's heart was extremely heavy, but after hearing Yun Chujia's words, they were a little speechless. Little Jiu, don't worry. I, Di Baiming, will not marry anyone other than you. If I violate this oath, the heavens will strike and I will die a horrible death. Di Baiming said slowly, word by word. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Yun Chuzhou said with a smile, Aya, I was a little worried at first. Since you've already sworn, then I'm relieved. I reckon that there are only a few reasons for them to look for me to go back. Firstly, it's possible that my mother left something good behind, and only I can open it. Second, maybe there was a marriage contract or something that I had to keep. Third, maybe there was an old ancestor or something who didn't want his children and grandchildren to wander outside, so he came to me. So, when you ascend, when you hear that I have a fiancé or something, don't take it to heart. No matter if the marriage partner is a cat or a dog, you are the only one in my heart, I will definitely think of a way to break off the marriage. You just need to trust me. Everyone was a little confused by Yun Chujia's reasoning. It sounded reasonable, but why was it a little awkward? Whether the marriage partner was a cat or a dog. Why did it not sound like a person's name? Although everyone was unwilling, logically, they knew that Yun Chuzhou would follow Manager Xiao. This was the best way to avoid more casualties. Alright, it's almost time. Everyone should be fine. Wait for the good news that I will turn the Immortal Essence continent upside down. Don't send me off, or else I won't be able to bear to leave. Yun Chuzhou pretended not to care and said to everyone, then, she quickly rushed out of the living room. At first, Yun Chuzhou still had a smile on her face. As she walked, tears started to flow down her face. She thought that happiness was already within reach, but she did not expect to be told that it was just a bubble. It was really fucking tragic. Di Baiming stood where he was and watched Yun Chuzhou wipe her tears with her sleeves. His hands were tightly clenched and his lips were pursed into a straight line. His heart was filled with guilt and self-blame. Suddenly, he spat out a mouthful of blood and Di Baiming fell to the ground. Baiming! The palace mistress immediately cried out in shock. Yun Chuzhou, who had already walked far away, vaguely heard the palace mistress cry. She shook her head and thought that she might have heard wrongly. This fellow used his sleeve to wipe away his tears, and a trace of a smile appeared on his face. Regardless of whether it was a raging fire or a thorny thorn in front of her, I, Yun Chujio, will make it a broad and broad path. Mo family, you have touched my bottom line, and I will make all of you fly into chaos, unable to rest in peace. Yun Chujio came to the foot of the mountain and said to Manager Xia with a smile, Manager Xia, let's quickly set off. I can't wait to see my father. Miss, I don't know about your adoptive parents. How are you going to arrange it? Manager Xia curled her lips in disdain. What a cold-hearted person. Since she didn't ask what her adoptive parents looked like. They have at least raised me once. Feed them the antidote and throw it at the entrance of the Temple of Immortals. Naturally, someone will take care of them. Don't waste time. Let's go quickly. Manager Xia heard Yun Chujio's words and the disdain in her heart grew. It seemed that Madame was really worrying too much. Such a vain person didn't need to be threatened at all. Manager Xia took out a voice transmission talisman and sent a message to another group of people. There's no need to capture those people. Miss has already agreed to return to the Mo family with me. There's no need to cause any more trouble. When Yun Chujio saw Manager Xia's message, her heart slightly heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that the Yun residence was temporarily safe. After going up, she had to think of a way to protect everyone. Manager Xia summoned a flying spirit tool. When Yun Chujio saw it, she couldn't help but sigh in her heart. This immortal Yuan continent was indeed extraordinary. This flying spirit tool was much more advanced. Manager Xia and the others looked at Yun Chujio with envy as she stared at the flying spirit tool. They all looked at her with disdain. This young miss was really a country bumpkin who had never seen the world. After Yun Chujio boarded the flying spirit tool, she looked around and asked all sorts of questions. At first, Manager Xia only gave a few perfunctory answers. Later on, she simply stopped talking. Yun Chujio did not mind. She continued to wander around, occasionally looking for two maids to talk to the guards. May I know how to address the two sisters? Yun Chujio asked the two maids with a smile. My name is Dong Qing, and her name is Xia Yi. The two maids saw that Yun Chujio actually addressed them as sisters, and they could not help but feel very proud. HMPH, so what if she is the eldest daughter of the Mo family? Now, she's still humbly fawning over us, what a waste. What a good name. The Mo residence is indeed worthy of being a large family in the high-level continent, their naming skills are really good. Fuck, why wasn't it called Cordyceps sinensis? Pooey. Eldest daughter's original name was even more elegant. TSK, it's much better than the current Yun Chujio. Dong Qing's eyes flashed with a hint of schadenfreude. Oh. Then what was my original name? Yun Chujio pretended to be curious and asked. Mo Fong Chao. Yun Chujio's heart was like a beeping dog. Listen to this name, fuck. This clearly meant that it was worthless. It seemed that it was not welcomed when it was born. I wonder if I have younger siblings. What are their names? Of course there are. Second Miss, Mo Fonghua, is a heaven's favorite in the Western continent. Young Master, Mo Junchen, is also a pretty good person. Other than them, I don't have any other siblings. Yun Chujio could not help but curl her lips in her heart. One grass, one flower. This was enough to tell who was more favored. As for that young master, he was probably a gangster. Otherwise, he would not have paused for a moment before saying, pretty good. There's also the third Miss, Mo Fongqing, who came from Auntie Chiu. Although she can't be compared to the second Miss, she can still be considered pretty good in the Western continent. Yun Chujio had a rough idea of the composition of the Mo residence's personnel, so she did not ask about the Mo residence anymore. Instead, she rambled on about other things. Although Dong Qing and Xia Yi looked down on Yun Chujio, Yun Chujio was, after all, the eldest miss in name. They felt very comfortable being fawned on like this, so they haughtily chatted with Yun Chujio. 3 days later, they finally arrived at the boundary between the immortal Yuan continent and the Tian Yuan continent. Yun Chujio did not expect that this boundary was actually in a sea. There were already 5 people waiting by the shore. Yun Chujio guessed that these people might be the ones who originally wanted to capture Yun Xiaotian and the others. Manager Xia said coldly, "Eldest miss, don't blame me for not warning you. This boundary is very dangerous. If you act without permission, you will bear the consequences. Manager Xia, I cherish my life the most. I will be obedient. However, how are we going to pass through the barrier? Will there be danger?" Yun Chujio asked carefully. Humph. If it was anyone else, they would naturally not be able to pass through the barrier. However, our Mo residents had a treasure passed down from our ancestors to protect us. Otherwise, do you think that everyone would be able to pass through the barrier easily? Wouldn't that be a mess? Manager Xia said arrogantly. Ah, so that's the case. Our Mo family is really powerful. We actually have such a treasure. I can't wait to see father. If he sees me, he might even reward me with this treasure. Yun Chujio's eyes flashed with blue light as she said. Manager Xia snorted coldly, thinking that this country bumpkin's skin was really thick. He hadn't even acknowledged his ancestors yet, and he was already thinking about the Mo family's heirloom. HMPH, he didn't even consider his own weight. You really dare to say it. The Mo family's heirloom would be given to you. Even if he really gave it to you, he would give it to second miss, alright? Moreover, the head of the family heirloom did not have the final say. Manager Xia handed Yun Chujio a few waterproof beads. Eldest miss, you just have to follow behind me. You don't have to worry about the rest. Yun Chujio took the waterproof beads and nodded with a timid look. The contempt in Manager Xia's heart grew even more. In her heart, Yun Chujio was completely a cowardly and vain country bumpkin. Everyone jumped into the sea, and Yun Chujio was surrounded by everyone. On one hand, it was to protect her, and on the other hand, it was to monitor her. After swimming for almost an hour, Yun Chujio saw a huge whirlpool in front of her. There were no sea beasts around, not even seaweed. It was obvious that this whirlpool was very dangerous. At this time, Manager Xia took out a small bell from her storage ring. Yun Chujio could not help but wonder, what was this small bell used for? Manager Xia's hands continuously formed seals, and the small bell grew bigger and bigger. Only then did Yun Chujio realize that this was not a small bell at all, but a big bell. Manager Xia pointed at the big bell with her hand, gesturing for Yun Chujio to follow her. Although Yun Chujio was puzzled, she still followed Manager Xia into the big bell. Only then did she realize that there were some chains hanging down inside the big bell. Manager Xia gestured for Yun Chujio to pull one of the chains. Only then did Yun Chujio realize that this was how the big bell was used. It was really strange. Manager Xia tied a rope around Yun Chujio's waist and tied it to the other chain. Apparently, he was afraid that Yun Chujio's spiritual power would not be able to pull the chain. Yun Chujio cherished her life the most. Naturally, she would not object. She wished that she could tie a few more chains. The big bell was very huge. Almost 30 people came in, but it was not crowded at all. After Manager Xia formed another seal, she quickly grabbed the iron chain, and the big bell rushed into the whirlpool. Yun Chujio found that the big bell was good everywhere, but there was a fatal flaw. The sound of the water hitting the bell was too loud. It was so loud that her ears were buzzing. After almost 4 hours, the sound of the water gradually became softer. Yun Chujio knew that they were about to pass through the whirlpool. This guy was slightly relieved. The situation of this barrier was indeed similar to what the pretty boy had said. If they were not forced to, the people of the immortal Yuan continent would not take the risk to go to the Tian Yuan continent. If they were not careful, their lives would be at stake. Manager Xia was the first to release the iron chain, and everyone else also released the iron chain in their hands. The two maids also untied the rope around Yun Chujia's waist. After Manager Xia formed a seal, she put away the big bell. After everyone emerged from the water, Manager Xia called out another big ship, and everyone jumped onto the big ship one after another. Yun Chujio pondered in her heart. She reckoned that this sea area was forbidden from flying. Otherwise, using a flying spirit tool would be much faster than taking a ship. Yun Chujio felt that the spiritual energy here was indeed much denser than in the Tianyuan continent. She reckoned that the spiritual energy would become denser on land. No wonder the people here had such superb spiritual energy. The group sailed on the sea for half a month. They even met some sea beasts in the middle. They were all species that Yun Chujio had never seen before. One look and one could tell that their spiritual energy level was very high. These sea beasts were very fierce. Manager Xia and the others lost almost half of their men before they managed to escape. Yun Chujio could not help but feel a little puzzled. This trip to the Tian Yuan continent was quite torturous, and it was very dangerous. The Mo family had spent so much effort, so why did they want to find her? Yun Chujio snorted coldly in her heart. In short, it was definitely not because of family ties. She wanted to see what they were going to do after going through so much trouble. However, since the journey was so dangerous, they would definitely not easily go looking for trouble with her grandfather and the others. As long as she did not touch their bottom line, she could completely play tricks on them. Mo residents, your good days were about to come. Finally, they saw land from afar. Manager Xia and the others heaved a sigh of relief. They had finally returned safely. After everyone went ashore, they flew on the flying spirit tool for nearly a month before they arrived at Jinchuan City, where the Mo family was located. After the flying spirit tool landed, Yun Chujio followed Manager Xia and the others into Jinchuan City. Yun Chujio looked around curiously. Jinchuan City was very prosperous, and it looked very big. It was probably one of the larger cities in the western continent. Some pedestrians on the way saw Manager Xia and the others and consciously avoided them. Yun Chujia's eyes flashed. It seemed that the Mo residents should be quite powerful in Jinchuan City. However, there were also some people who only nodded when they saw Manager Xia and the others. They even gave Yun Chujio a veiled glance. Dong Qing saw that Yun Chujio looked like she had never seen the world before. She could not help but snort coldly. Eldest Miss, you are no longer a person from the lower realm. You are now representing the Mo family's face. I hope you can put away your petty attitude. Yun Chujio turned her head and smiled at Dong Qing. Dong Qing was stunned by Yun Chujia's smile. Then, she felt a sense of uneasiness in her heart. Why did this country bumpkin feel like a different person? Yun Chujio raised her voice and said clearly, Dong Qing, you are right. Since I am the eldest miss of the Mo family, there is a difference between master and servant. In the future, you must address me respectfully. Otherwise, I will not be polite. Dong Qing thought she had heard wrong and could not help but be stunned. What did you say? Pa. Yun Chujio waved her hand and slapped Dong Qing. Impudent. Is this the way you speak to your master? Although Dong Qing's spiritual power was much higher than Yun Chujia's, she had never dreamed that Yun Chujio would suddenly attack. Therefore, the slap was firm, and the left side of her face immediately swelled up. Bitch! How dare you hit me? Dong Qing raised her hand as she spoke, wanting to hit Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio jumped several feet away in an instant. She shouted loudly, Manager Xia, are the servants of our Mo residents so unruly? Not only did they insult our master, they even wanted to hit our master. In that case, I might as well stay in the Tianyuan continent. I didn't expect that being recognized by you would make me suffer. All of this happened very quickly. Manager Xia did not have the time to stop her at all. Yun Chujia's shout immediately attracted the attention of many people. Some of the forces that were on par with the Mo residents were very curious about Yun Chujia's identity. Now, they naturally would not let go of such a good opportunity. They all stopped to watch. Manager Xia was caught off guard by Yun Chujio. Although he was very surprised that this country bumpkin suddenly became bold, on the streets, the Mo resident's face was naturally the most important thing. Thus, he said to Dong Qing, "How dare you? Hurry up and apologize to Miss. Miss, let's go back to the Mo residence first. The master and madam are still waiting for you. What about you?" Manager Xia was afraid that Yun Chujio would find fault again, so she changed "you" to "you." Only then did Yun Chujio let out a long sigh. Manager Xia, I'm relieved to hear that. I thought my father brought me back to abuse me. Dong Qing, what are you waiting for? Do you want me to apologize to you? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.